Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we're back with another faction focus video. This time we're going to be focusing around the Empire for Warhammer The Old World, as it's a fairly popular faction, let's be honest. The Empire has always been really well known throughout players, as they are counted as kind of the everyman, jack of all trades, and master of a few, funny enough. So what we're going to do is we're going to do what we've done with the other videos. We're going to check out the roster, we're going to check out the special rules, and we're going to have a little bit of fun discussing a few things. There is a very nice change, which might not be the biggest for some people, but for me it's actually really cool, so I'm really happy about that. As per usual, we'll be going over some very specific stuff and not going throughout the whole book out of respect for Games Workshop, so it doesn't get replicated. It's one of these things that was asked of us, so I am going to keep to the rules, because I don't want to be put on a naughty step, and I would really like to see how this progresses. It's just kind of cool. So yeah, without further ado, let's begin. Alright, so this is the Empire roster, and as you can see already, there's not, well, I don't think there's any new stuff, but what there is a lot of returning cool stuff, which I'm really happy about. So for characters, once again, 50%, you can get a General of the Empire or a Grand Master. These are 1 per 1,000 points, a Lector of Sigmar, or a High Priest of Ulrich, 1 per 1,000 points once again. So yes, the Warrior Priests of Ulrich are back. The Captains of the Empire, Wizard Lords, Master Mages, Chapter Masters, Witch Hunters, Priests of Sigmar, Priests of Ulrich, and Empire Engineers, as many as you want. And then the War Altar is here, which is counted as a mount. For the Lector of Sigmar, you can only have 1 of those per army, which is fairly fair. Then if we go to core, there's 25%, 1 unit of veteran state troops per 1,000 points, and then we can go into the basic stuff, right? So state troops, state missile troops, this is all the usual stuff: crossbows, handguns, sword and shield, spear and shield, and halberd and shield. We've got the Free Company Militia, Empire Archers, and Empire Knights as core, which is pretty cool. If you want to go for a full cavalist, you are more than able to. When we go to special, we've got 50% here, and that is 1 unit of Inner Circle Knights per 1,000 points, Empire Greatswords, Pistoliers, Outriders, and Demigryph Knights. You can have as many as you want. And finally, for War Machines, you can have up to 3 of the following per 1,000 points, actually, which is quite good. Great Cannons and Mortars. When we go up to rare, which is 25%, you can have Flagellants, up to 1 War Machine per 1,000 points. This would be the Hellblaster Volley Gun or the Hellstorm Rocket Battery, and 1 Steam Tank per 1,000 points, which the Steam Tanks are quite good, so yeah, you know. Before people start complaining about the roster, keep in mind that the Empire was always very well-rounded. I think that all the bases are covered here, and the most important thing is that there is a distinction between the Warrior Priest, again, which is something that a lot of people have been wanting. I'm hoping for the future we will see a Warrior Priest of Tal, because, you know, this actual setting is set between the Civil War, which was the Church of Sigmar, the Church of Ulrich, and the Church of Tal as the main contenders. Well, and also Marienburg, but nobody really cares about Marienburg. There is some missing stuff, and it's not really going to get its own section here, because the Luminarch and the Celestial Hurricanum don't exist at this point in the timeline. I know some people do miss it, but yeah, I mean, it's before the Colleges of Magic. You're still getting wizards, you're still getting spellcasters, so don't you worry about that. There was some genuine concerns of some people that we weren't going to be getting them, but yeah, you can't have the Empire without any form of magic. That would just be absolutely brutal. Alright, so what we're going to do here is talk about magic, and magic is a really interesting thing, right? Because you don't have any unique spells, you don't have like a law of the Empire and stuff like that, and it's the same thing with special rules that we'll get to a little bit later, and it's mostly because humans, well, the Empire is supposed to be like the generic faction, right? So what you do have access to is battle magic, demonology, dark magic, elementalism, illusion, and necromancy. You might be wondering why demonology and necromancy are included, and it's because magic is unregulated during this point of time. So people practicing demonology and necromancy can be a bit more common, whereas afterwards things get a little bit more, well, you know, the witch hunter has the gun right to your head type of thing. Don't worry, it's not all too bad, because obviously this gets supplemented with the fact that you have the warrior priests that come in and act as their own separate edition with their own stuff, and we're going to cover that in this video. But yeah, keep that in mind, that if you're going to be playing the Empire, this is vanilla incarnate, and we'll talk about that in the pros and cons later. The lack of unique magic is obviously supplemented by the fact that you have prayers. So we have Warrior Priests of Sigmar, which have access to the prayers of Sigmar, and we've got Warrior Priests of Ulrich, which have access to the prayers of Ulrich. The idea here is to give you fairly strong character that you can put straight up in melee to do some damage. You can have them with additional hand weapons, shields, great weapons, even heavy armor and mounted. These guys can do damage, don't you worry. But obviously they're not there to just do damage. So how it works is that each of these priests have access to 3 different types of prayers. And during the command subphase, your character, your priest, may invoke one of the prayers by doing a leadership test using their own leadership, and yeah, it's that simple. So let's talk about the different types of prayers. We'll start off with the prayers of Sigmar, the Hammer of Sigmar. Until the start of your next turn subphase, this model, its mount, and a single friendly unit that is within its command range may re-roll any rolls to hit or to wound of a natural 1. So if you rolled 1s, you can re-roll them, which is pretty tasty, to be honest. I mean, if you've got a big squad, you're going to be rolling a lot of 1s. Shield of Faith is next. Until your next start of turn subphase, this model and a single friendly unit that is within its command range, when this prayer is chanted, has a 5-up ward against any shooting attacks. Could be very useful if you're going to be dealing with range heavy armies like High Elves and Wood Elves, and sometimes Tomb Kings depending on the player composition too. And then finally Soulfire. So a single enemy unit this model is engaged in combat with immediately suffers d6 strength 3 hits with -2 AP. These hits also count as flaming attacks and magical attacks. Overall pretty good. I'm quite happy with the Warrior Priest of Sigmar. It's just nice to see this identity back, and also, I mean, we've got access to the Warrior Priest of Ulrich, so there's more choice. An element of choice is so big when it comes to Warhammer Fantasy in general, right? Alright, so now we've got the Warrior Priest of Ulrich, and let's check out their prayers. Once again, you do a leadership test, all the usual stuff. So, Battle Howl. Until the start of your next turn subphase, when this model and a single friendly unit that is within its command range, when this prayer is chanted, makes a charge roll, you may apply a +D3 modifier to the result. And you can only use this on infantry or cavalry, which again makes sense. Yeah, I mean, this is pretty good. You could essentially get an even better charge. Sometimes it's only that 1 inch that you need, and yeah, D3 is perfectly fine for that. Then we've got Winter's Chill. Until your next start of turn subphase, any enemy model that directs its attack to this model, its mount, or any unit that it's joined during the combat phase must re-roll any natural rolls of 6. Again, pretty good. You know, that's it deals with armor bane stuff, which is obviously quite good, and in general, it keeps you safer. So yeah, fairly happy. The last one is Wrath of Winter. Until your next start of turn subphase, this model, its mount, and any unit is joined gains the Multiple Wounds 2 special rule. Pretty good for dealing against big armies. We're not going to be seeing a lot of ogres, I imagine, because of the whole issue with Legacy, unless their rules are quite good. But if you think about it this way, you know, Orcs have a lot of big monsters, Chaos have a lot of big monsters, well, even Wood Elves too, because those Treekin are pretty strong. So yeah, very useful overall. It is genuinely nice to see the Warrior Priest of Ulrich back. I've got some of these models. I've got one of them still in a blister pack, by the way, which is absolutely insane. But now I've got a reason to paint one up. So yay! Now, this is the new thing that the Empire are getting, and I know it might not be exciting for a lot of people, but it's exciting to me. You can now have characters on demigryphs, right? Something that a lot of people have been hoping for. Obviously, we had one character, a named character back in 8th edition, which had a demigryph, but that was attached to the Tamilcan campaign. But yeah, now we've got a demigryph mount option, which is super cool. This can be used on your melee style characters, so you know, your generals, your masters of the knightly orders too, which is super, super cool. Again, big thing here, right? Demigryph knights were always insanely popular, but it was always the, oh, you can't have that on a character situation. So I imagine, like, if we get an Empire start box, it's going to have, that's going to be the new big ticket item. It's going to be a character on a demigryph, which, yeah, I'm all for. So you can use these on an Empire General, Captain of the Empire, a Grand Master or a Chapter Master can also have this. They're 50 points, which is pretty good for a monstrous mount on a 50 by 75 base. And what this does is also gives your character an extra wound. You know, it's got some pretty good attacks on melee anyway, because this is a pretty big monster. Yeah, everyone knows what a demigryph is, but I'm super happy and I'm going to talk about this. Also, it's very important to note that the mount provides barding, you get countercharge, first charge, fear, and swift stride, and the melee of the mount, the demigryph, is 3 attacks with -2 AP, weapon skill 4, strength 5. Overall, yeah, pretty decent, man. Again, considering that this is the newest entry, I imagine that this is going to be part of the stock kit. I just hope that it's really customizable, that you could either have it as a general or a chapter master, because it would also be kind of nice to get those in plastic, as I believe, yeah, the Grandmasters were only in metal. Now, whilst we don't have access to special rules, we do have access to special weaponry, which kind of counts, plus, I mean, it's the Empire. So, the first one is the Grenade Launching Blunderbuss. This is a blunderbuss with a range of 24 inches, strength 4, -2 AP. Special rules are cumbersome and ponderous, and when you hit with it, so after you've done your first roll, if it's been successful, you get D3 plus 1 hit. So yeah, pretty good overall. You can have, what, 2 to 4 hits there with -2 AP. It's pretty good. Next, we've got the Hotchland Long Rifle. This is 36 inches, 4 strength, -1 AP, armor bane 1, cumbersome and ponderous. The benefit to this also is that the Hotchland Long Rifle can be used to target a character and a champion, for example. So you can actually use it as a sniper rifle. For 36 range, it's pretty damn good too. Naturally, these are specific to the Empire. There's loads of other guns, by the way, like repeater handguns and so on, but those can be found in the core rulebook. These are, well, you know, Imperial weaponry. And lastly, we do have something which is returning, which I was actually kind of surprised to see back. The pigeon bombs. Yeah, I know, it's a funny thing. So instead of shooting normally, during the shooting phase, a model equipped with a pigeon bomb may release one, choosing an enemy unit that is within 24 inches and roll on the table below. Naturally, there's going to be a few misfires here. So if you roll a 1, you center the small blast template, that's 3 inches, over the model, and anything hit by it suffers a strength 4 hit with a -AP of 1. When a 2 or 3 is done, the pigeon sets off to the distant horizon and no bomb is done. Which, yeah, you know. On a 4 to a 5, you hit the target, just one single thing, with a strength 5 and a -AP of 2. But if it is a perfect delivery, so on a roll of a 6, you then put it over the targeted unit on the center of the target unit, by the way, so you do get a decent amount of damage. And the damage there is a strength 4 hit -AP of 1. It's a bit different to the bird brain one because you center that on the model, not on the unit. It's a bit of a risk-reward situation, but then again, you know, a pigeon bomb kinda counts as an artillery shot in a sense, because, you know, misfires. It's kind of cool, honestly. Overall, you get a lot of options. You get to play around with a lot of different things. Plus, I mean, everything looks good. Who doesn't want a sniper rifle, essentially? So, yeah, let's move on. Alright, let's start talking about the pros and cons. There will be a neutral one here too, because, well, it's one of these things where the Empire is treated as like the starter faction. A lot of people who are going to be new starters are likely going to get into the Empire. It's very odd that this, again, wasn't like bundled in with everything with the Tomb Kings and the Bretonnians, because, yeah, vanilla, right? So for neutral, we're going to put their vanilla. They don't have a lot of special rules in terms of unique stuff. You might be wondering where detachments are. Don't worry, that's a universal special rule now. But what the Empire does have is a very well-rounded army list. You've got gunners, you've got archers, you've got pistols, you've got heavy cav, you've got light cav with guns, you've got monstrous cav, you've got loads and loads of artillery, you've got loads of different types of weapons for the frontliners, you know, halberds, spears, sword and shield. The Empire is that faction which is dependable. If you're looking for a specific type of army, usually the Empire is able to do so. Sure, they might not have the heaviest types of foot troops. I mean, greatswords are alright, but yeah, extremely dependable. It's that old faithful that you always end up going back to, and there's a reason why it's so popular. Hell, even in the Total War Warhammer series, the Empire is one of the most popular factions too, because it's old faithful, and it's the one that everyone wants to test stuff with, it's the one that everyone wants to play. I'm a big fan of the Empire. I wouldn't really change too much about this. My only hope is that the Arcane Journals kind of fleshes this out a little bit more, and we get some stuff with Tal, we get the returning stuff like the Knights of the White Wolf, you know, specific types of knights would be great. But other than that, yeah, I mean, it's Old Faithful again. Yeah, that's all I can really say, and it's a good thing. We've got a lot of artillery options too, which kind of fits with the well-rounded roster, but this is, you know, it's a faction which, you can have a lot of heavy gunpowder on it too. The content creator I've been speaking to has been saying that he's going to theme an army around Null and just have as many artillery pieces as possible, and that's very much possible here. It's cool. Theming is going to be there. If you're a big fan of the lore and you want to theme around this specific Empire province, you're more than able to, just like in 8th edition, so yeah, crack on with that. Just as a quick note, you know, the great swords themselves are also fairly good in terms of armor, it's just they're lacking shields, but they've got full plate, which is pretty damn good. It would just be nice if, and this is something that's going to go in the corn, missing, you know, foot knights. I was expecting if we were going to get this here, we were going to get kind of like, you know, the whole Reichsguard on foot type of situation, or just Empire Knights on foot. It would have been nice to have. It's not a deal breaker, but it would have just been nice to have sword and board knights on foot, right? Overall, I'm pretty happy with the Empire. I don't think there's like too many issues. I know some people would complain because they were expecting more, but since the detachments are a universal special rule, it's fine. And again, if we're waiting for theming, maybe the Arcane Journal has some really cool sub-factions. I'm hoping so, and characters and so on. It's the big thing where characters not appearing in the base book is kind of disappointing. I was expecting some, at least one or two, you know, a Lord and a Hero choice. Well, Lords and Heroes aren't thing anymore, but you know what I mean. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about the Empire in the comments below. Let's start a bit of a discussion. I do apologize that there might be a bit more edits in this video than usual. It's just because there's been a really bad storm going on. Like, it's absolutely insane. Some thunder was going off and my window was literally shaking, which is never a good sign. But yeah, have a good day, guys. This should be the second one going out today, and then tomorrow we're going to be back. There's going to be a few more to talk about, and then we're going to start discussing some lore changes and a few other things. So I'll see you all again very, very soon.